Good afternoon, good evening, good day, everybody. It's my pleasure as we approach the twilight of our conference and the day here in Europe to share with you our material science offering, what we've been up to, if you're a customer of ours or you've seen it before, and what we're moving towards. So let me share my screen here and let's get started. Before we jump into the meat and potatoes, as it were, of the software itself and our plans, I want to start off with a couple of headlines that you might have seen over the last few months. In fact, this one was published only a few days ago. Amazon to pilot AI design material for carbon removal, and then a couple of months before that, the race to find new materials with AI needs more data. So almost a positive and a negative, adding to a neutral outlook here, I suppose. But the key thing to I suppose understand from these two headlines is that AI in material science is here, right? There are actionable materials that are being produced by it, but there are challenges involved as well. And throughout this presentation, hopefully you'll see why it is that we will make a good partner for your material science innovation in that sense. So I just want to share this chart very quickly. This is something that I've just sketched together to communicate, I suppose, the overarching story of material science R&D, right? Material science R&D is, of course, a multifaceted area. You have many different types of materials that have many different, I suppose, intricacies and concerns. But I suppose the point being generally with material science R&D is that as we begin a project and advance it through to completion, really what we're doing is reducing the material design space to a point where we find the material or formulation, combination, composition, whatever it is, to solve our particular challenge. And as we progress through that, getting rid of a large amount of that materials design space is quite straightforward in the beginning. You might know that you don't need a thermoset; you actually need a metal alloy, right? These initial decisions are quite straightforward. But as you get closer and closer to the optimal output for your particular problem, the optimal solution for it, the costs, of course, increase. The more samples you're running, the more experimentation you're having to do in order to get to that validation. So really what AI presents from a sort of structural framework perspective is the ability to flatten that cost, first of all, by making people more productive, right? You're able to collect and process a much vaster amount of information than what was previously available, right? A human reading through a list of patents and scientific literature is quite an inefficient task, and having them to try to abstract out the different components of the technology and understand those and put those together into potential new solutions can be quite difficult. On the raw material and equipment front, right? The more information you have, the better decision making you have when you go into running your experiment samples and later scale up and manufacturing. The fewer materials and equipment costs you'll have, because naturally there are fewer experiments. That feeds into the next point here, which is the experiment and trial, right? These two things come hand in hand. And then what you have to spend more on is software tools, like with us and other AI applications. But the general story looks like this, of course. What this graph doesn't capture, though, is also the secondary benefit, which is the reduction in opportunity costs. The less time you are spending on your R&D, the less opportunity cost there is, right? Because the quicker you can get to market, the more easy or the easier it is to recoup that investment that you spend, and of course begin to make your profit. So it's a technology that has the ability to essentially, completely overtake the industry and drive a lot of efficiency. And that really highlights our purpose here, right? What we're trying to do as an organization with the products that we build, with the tools, especially that I look after in our material space. Our mission here is to empower your material science innovation through the transformative potential of AI, right? And I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like. So today, what we're going to cover is the platform as it is. If you were to go and load up the platform as it is now, what you'd be able to do in it. I see some of our customers in the chat, so they'll know this firsthand. Upcoming functionality in the near future, we've got planned over the next few months in the first half of next year. and then our broader future strategic goals with the platform, some of which we've touched on already, and you'll start to see these sort of clues threaded through the presentation. So getting started with the platform today, what are some of the things that you can do? Well, what underpins our material science offering is our core technology, which is SPUM. S standing for substance, P for property, U for unit, and M for measurement. Now, what is core to understand around materials and, of course, how they act in real life is that a property is a description of the material's interaction with the world, right? We try to objectify that, of course, and use that to compare and understand one material's performance versus another. And typically, this is what we're optimizing for, right? When a customer comes to us and tells us that they need a material that performs in X or Y way, we work in the reverse from that. Of course, there are other considerations as well, like the sustainability, which you might consider intrinsic property and other things. But in terms of our SPUM, the core of how this works is that we have developed a family of machine learning and AI models that essentially, as we ingest our data sources, whether they be patents, scientific literature, and others, as we'll get onto in just a moment, we have these AI agents that are looking to extract, rationalize, and understand what is being communicated from a material science perspective in these documents. And that supports a few different workflows. One of those, of course, being the searching side of things. So if you're looking for to understand what the state of the art looks like around a particular material and a sort of desired performance, then you can do that by easily inputting the material and the value ranges of those properties, right? The reverse is also true. One of the updates that we've had recently is that you now no longer need to define the material up to the top left here. You'll see that it says optional, so you can describe your property profile that you're looking to search for and look for and discover materials that satisfy that from the state of the art. This really opens the door then for navigating through technology that appears in an adjacent field or a field that perhaps you're not particularly focused on right now, and opens up that discoverability for repurposing technology into an application that's more aligned to what you're trying to commercialize for. Now, searching is one thing in regards to the SPUM side of things, but what you might consider as you see as I'm describing this is that these models are essentially big data hoses, right? Where vacuum is probably a better word. As we ingest these documents and we extract the data from within them, we're building these data sets around particular substance ontologies and applications that helps us to really understand what the material design space looks like in any one particular sector. This will be important later on as we discuss AI, and in sort of correlation with the second quote that I shared at the beginning, where the biggest problem is the lack of data to train these models correctly. The state of the art in its totality, whether that be in patents or scientific literature, essentially offers our as up to date as possible human knowledge in that sense. So being able to rationalize it, extract it in a meaningful way is going to be very powerful moving forward. So you just saw an example of this that Hannah shared previously in regards to our solution finder. Now, this is also available to use in the material science sense as well. So we've created a version of Hero that is specifically focused on material science related issues. And now, that's a slightly different approach than what's required with the TRIZ methodology, where it's you focused on sort of system level thinking, right? And you're breaking down larger systems into their components, reforming them, and creating ideas from that perspective. In material science, it's a little bit more tricky to approach it with that way because we're talking about chemical bonds here at the end of the day. You can't just sort of chop and change those out and hope that the solution will work. Some of the rules of science, or rather all of the rules of physics and chemistry, need to be respected. And so we've trained Hero to understand that as well. And it's able to produce answers for you in that context around material science specific applications. So parameterizing things like desired properties, managing contradictions, this is all possible with Hero in our material science offering. Now, that's sort of the backdrop of how Eureka Materials performs today. There's a bunch of other stuff within that as well, searching for specific materials through things like compositions, rather than just material names or things like the IUPAC name, etc. There are many different ways in which you can access this data, which we're not going to cover too much today. Instead, if you're interested in how your material or class of materials might be able to be supported by Eureka, then I'd encourage you to reach out to myself, your account manager, if you're a customer, or our sales team, so that we can run through that with you in a bit more detail. And so now I want to share the upcoming functionality with Eureka Materials. So we've discussed SPUM, which is our sort of core model for extracting substances, properties, rationalizing those things together so that we can contextually figure out what the materials science and performance is being talked about in a particular document. But now we need to think about that at a deeper level, because one size fits all for that extraction just isn't particularly possible. Right, the considerations for alloys and compounded compositions are much different than that of, say, polymers and a simple precursor type materials. So we're also doing this as well for alloys, as you can see just here. I've got the example on the right hand side. You'll see that throughout our platform, and you can search for things like alloy compositions as well through Eureka Materials. But the key thing here is that the upgrade that we have coming out for this in the next couple of months is that you'll also be able to search via component oxides as well. So in terms of the inorganic workflows, we're no longer just supporting those on the metal side. Anybody that's working in glass, cement, etc., and other inorganic workflows, the doors have been opened for you to take advantage of our platform more generally too. So what this essentially means is that you'll be able to define a list of component oxides, attribute the percentage weight to them, and then direct your search under that means. And you'll be able to see, amongst a few things, what the current state of the art looks like in that sense, and sneak peek that Hero will be able to rationalize that too. So when you're looking for a particular formulation, generally for a particular problem that you're looking to solve, then Hero can produce that as well. The key use case that this supports is composition validation. So validating your composition against the state of the art to understand, amongst, again, other things from a legal perspective, has any organization patented something similar, or is there anything interesting happening in the scientific literature around this type of composition with these components that perhaps could be commercialized by us in the near future? The next big update that we have coming is the integration of supplier and grade data. So we've been working very hard over the last few months in order to create and foster partnerships with suppliers, and to begin building that database within our platform, because patents, scientific literature is good, but also another area of high quality material performance data is from the suppliers directly themselves that are producing these and ultimately providing them to downstream organizations to make their products out of. So what you'll be able to do with the integration of this data is you'll be able to navigate through suppliers in various locations, understand their inventory, and whether or not they have a material available that supports what you're looking for. But this will also be deeply integrated with the navigation that you do through the platform. So if you come across a material in, say, a patent or in an article that is described, that'll be linked to the supplier's information that's in the platform, and you'll be able to understand the availability of that if that's appropriate to your workflow. So very exciting. And what you'll see as I describe this, or hopefully what you will be seeing, is that the story here is that we're building this foundation of high quality data across all the different data access points that are available in the material science space, from the state of the art in patents and scientific literature, from suppliers and the properties that they're suggesting with the standards that they're measuring against. And as we evolve our offering and our technology here, what you're going to see is that we integrate these into our AI our AI solutions. So Hero generally is what we call our AI, right? But Hero actually underneath the hood is a bunch of different models, right? You've got some Bayesian based, some that are LLM focused, and that all come together in an orchestration in different ways in order to provide the answers that you're looking for. But as we sort of circle back to the first slide here with that second quote, which is that the biggest problem in material science AI innovation is that lack of data. We are positioned in a unique sense where we have been parsing and extracting and managing this type of data source over the last 17 years or so, which means we have a first party database that is second to none, that we're able to train our AI to access effectively and to produce answers that no other can. Whereas the current state of the art in this space is to train a machine learning model based off of previous experimentation for a very niche and narrow esoteric set of material options. We're attempting to design a generalized intelligence that can manage all material science based questions and functionality. So over the course of next year and the following years, you'll see this take further shape. The first version of this is in the platform already through our solution finder and the way that we've trained it right now, but the quality of responses is going to get better and better. In terms of a sneak peek, well, first, let me finish off with our catchphrase, right? In that sense, the key with Hero is that we're trying to foster better answers and faster decisions with you, right? So you're using AI to outsource the research piece to an AI agent, so that when you are then getting these solutions, as Hannah demonstrated and as I showed a few slides ago, you're able to focus your energy and your time on understanding whether or not those solutions have value, rather than sifting through the state of the art to extract and componentize and thread together those ideas yourself. In terms of the sneak peek for what that looks like, and later towards the end of next year, the very first sort of specific application of this we're going to be developing is AI suggested formulations and compositions. And you'll see from what we've talked about already in the slides that makes sense, right? We're investing all of this time and energy into curating and producing that data in a meaningful way, and AI is of course only as good as the data that it has access to. So that's our bet. By having this unique first party data, we'll be able to produce this ubiquitous material science AI that will be able to solve many problems. And so before I leave everybody today, I've tried to keep my presentation as concise as possible, because I know that we're running slightly over and it's late evening here in Europe. Probably a lot of you are sitting here watching me, listening to me, and eating your dinner or your lunch. I want to leave you with these questions. So if you want to take a look at these features in action and dive into them in more detail, what I would highly suggest doing is, if you're a customer with us, as I say, reach out to your account manager, and they'll be able to set that up. If you're not a customer of ours, but this was very interesting to you, then contact our sales team. If you're interested in applying our AI to your first party data, that's something that we'd like to explore with a few select organizations that are keen to figure this out. Perhaps what you've seen here throughout the presentation so far is that these AI functionalities look very interesting, but perhaps the golden goose for your organization would be to use it against the vast amount of data that you've already collected over the last decades. I don't want to. Just a quick note on that is, of course, the privacy is a key aspect, and we're happy to evaluate that with you in more detail. It would be us applying our AI to your data, or do you want to use our data for your own AI/ML efforts? So the reverse, right? Has what I've shown today in terms of the information that we're collecting from the state of the art, from suppliers, etc. Does that look interesting to you? Does that do you have your own AI efforts happening internally? Is that some data that you want to explore leveraging for that purpose? These are all things that we want to understand from you and hear about. So if you do want to discuss that in more detail, you can reach out to me at fkel@patsnap.com. You can see my email address just at the bottom there, and we can go through that together. But yeah, hopefully everybody here is excited then for the future of material science innovation and leveraging AI. There's still a lot to come. Right now, we're in the stage of making sure that we can curate the data as best as possible, as you've seen. Primarily, that supports the searching workflows. And as we transition more into AI-driven technology and functionality, then we can really take advantage of that together, hopefully. But thank you, everybody. I'm happy to stick around to answer any questions that might appear in the chat.
Well, thank you so much, Fraser, for this really insightful presentation. Honestly, the capabilities of Patsnap Eureka Materials are truly groundbreaking, and every time I see the potential for innovation in the materials field for it's truly inspiring. So like Fraser said, we will be taking any questions if you have any, but I do know that we are going over time. So if there are no questions, then we will conclude the R&D stage at Frontier. We really hope that you've gained some valuable insights and fresh inspiration to bring back to your work. Do you see a question? Are the recordings of these sessions ready? Yes, all recordings for every session. They're all going to be uploaded to our website. So stay tuned after this session is over.
I just see a quick question from Jeff as well, Omar, so I'm gonna answer that very quickly.
Oh, please go for it.
If you have a Eureka Materials, can you access the normal Eureka platform, or do you need a license for each? So Materials is designed to be all-inclusive of the Eureka functionality as well, so you can get both versions of the solution finder, as well as all the searching that the base Eureka does too. So thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate that.